Learning the first position blues scale pattern is a great shortcut to finding the right notes to use when you're playing a blues solo. So first off, here's a glimpse of the sort of end result we're looking to get using this first position pattern as an improvising tool. So first off, here's how I'd use the first position in E against a 12-bar blues in E. Okay, so that's the key, actually most commonly used for acoustic blues. Nothing wrong with doing it on electric guitar as well. But I'd say on an electric guitar, the key of A is probably more commonly used for blues. On the acoustic, it's not so easy to get to the higher end of the frets usually, so that's possibly why the electric guitar favours the higher key. So here's using the first position in the key of A over a blues in A. I can get this to work. That's it. Something like that. So we'll get on to the key of A a little bit later in the lesson, but to start off, let's just look at the first position in the key of E. The numbers on this diagram indicate fingering instruction using the all-important 1 finger per fret rule. So the 1 finger per fret rule means allocating your first finger to the first fret in this case, second finger to the second fret, third finger to the third fret. And in this particular key we don't need to use the fourth finger at all. So then we read the diagram from left to right and we work up each string in turn. On the way up the scale we always start with the open string, then the numbered fret, then open string, fingered. So we're always working from the open string up the fretboard. On the way back it's the reverse. You start with the fingered note, the highest fret number, working back to the open string, then down a string. Whoops, I missed that one. People vary tremendously in their ability to read scale diagrams when they first come across them. If you have a problem with reading the diagrams, don't worry, you are in good company. Best thing in that case is to literally just take one string at a time and sort of build your knowledge of the scale pattern up sort of stepwise. So you would start just on the E string and just play that from open to third. Once you got used to that, go up to the next string, open, 1, 2. Then put that together, open, 3, open, 1, 2. Repeat that a few times. And then bolt on the next string, open, 2. Little by little you just keep adding to the pattern until you've learnt it off by heart. That's the important thing, to get the pattern down so it becomes automatic. Okay, now even if you found it very easy to interpret the diagram and to learn this scale pattern, working smaller areas of the pattern over and over, backwards and forwards, up and down, is also a very, very good drill just to get you intimately acquainted with the pattern. So I'll often sit there and just go. I'm just focusing on really string by string and pair of strings by pair of strings to really get used to my ears and my fingers learning how those notes go together. So any amount of that is good, regardless of how easy you find it to learn the pattern in the first place. Now that's so much for the pattern in the key of E. In the key of A, we use a movable pattern, putting our first finger at the 5th fret. And actually this is the only other first position pattern you have to learn, because this pattern can be moved anywhere on the guitar and that will always give you the first position of the key that you started on. So that's the first position in A. Here it will be the first position in G. Up here, first position in C, for example. So this is what we call a movable pattern. Okay, here it is up on the screen. At a glance you can see that this pattern has the same shape as the one in E. The only difference is that we have to use all 4 fingers and no open strings. So I'm lining my first finger up with the 5th fret, that's my A note, my key note. And on the bottom string I finger 1, 4, next string 1, 2, 3, next string 1, 3, next string 1, 3, 4, next string 1, 4, top string 1, 4, coming down 1, 4, 1, next string 4, 3, 1, next string 3, 1, next string 3, 2, 1, next string 4, 1. So again, make sure as you're going up you always work from the lower fret to the higher, and on the way down, other way around, from the higher fret on each string to the lower frets. So the next step, once you've learnt these patterns, what do you do with them? Well, you could start right out improvising with them. You could download the backing tracks from the toolbox to the right of the screen here and go straight in and try using them. But I have to say, most people, especially new to this, are going to find that a pretty frustrating experience. And that's because you have to be able to use these patterns without thinking, and you have to be able to use them with a degree of dexterity, a degree of speed and smoothness, before you're going to be able to produce the sort of sounds that are going to give you the sense of progress that we really want you to have from this. So actually, the next step is to drill these patterns. Something like this. So starting out with the E pattern, I will just play it through at a steady pace, concentrating on being nice and rhythmic. playing it both down and up, round and round, gradually allowing it to get faster, but without sacrificing any sound quality. After a while you begin to pick up a bit of speed. And then you can do a similar thing with the one in A. Exactly the same really. You can't do too much of this, except of course you'll drive anybody listening completely mad, but scale practice does so much good for every aspect of your playing. Now once you've sort of drilled it straight like that, begin to kind of just mess around with the scale a little bit. Play little tunes on it. Just to begin to get a kind of feel of how to put phrases together. Then you'll be pretty much ready to start using them. Then you can access the backing tracks on this side, or you can use any other backing tracks you can lay your hands on, or better still, find somebody else to play a 12-bar rhythm live so you can play along with them. So that's all for this lesson, but depending on what sort of level of experience you're at and what your aspirations are, there are a number of different options for what to do next. If you're doing this lesson as part of the Beginner's Blues series, then simply carry on with the next lesson in the series. If you've already worked your way through learning all 6 verses of Texas Blues, you might like the option of jumping over to the series about how to improvise using the Texas Blues. That's great fun. If your aspirations are quite a bit higher and you're aiming for professional level guitar, then jump to the lesson that teaches you all 5 positions of the blues scales, and then head off to the Guitar Gym section of the site, where you'll find the fast track to learn as much about this style of playing as you can in the shortest possible time. But that's not for the faint-hearted. Whatever you choose to do, I look forward to seeing you in the next lesson.